Hey YouTube, Custom Edgeworks here with another knife review. Sorry it's been a while, I've been busy, but in the meantime I've acquired some new knives. This one I've had for, I don't know, probably over a year, and it's pretty good. It's actually just real interesting, and that's why I wanted to do a video on it. Kizer Cutlery knives are a real bargain in many ways. They offer good materials at a really great price. And I thought this is a good example of that. This particular model, I don't remember the actual model number, but I bought it a while ago when I had first seen Kaiser really come to the market in a big way. And I think I picked it up for about $110. I haven't priced this particular model out recently, but I have noticed that Kaiser seems to be producing a lot of different models now. So it looks like they're not doing too bad, and I'm not surprised. That's a pretty good thing because they really offer a lot, and especially in the US market. A lot of times people don't mind paying the extra for a US made knife, and you pay for quality control, and also it's just nice to make sure that you're circulating that money here in the US. But if that latter point isn't as important to you, and you're really more just concerned with quality control and quality of materials, Kaiser is one of several Chinese-made knives that's really setting a new standard, in my opinion. And again, all of my reviews are subjective; they're entirely my opinion, and sometimes those views vary. But anyway, my opinion is this is a good knife. To get right to the point, there's a lot of things that I can critique about it, but I can do that with pretty much every single knife you put in front of me. I want to be as picky as possible because that way I can try to identify any negatives that may prevent you from making a bad purchase or buy. Sorry about the lighting, it's really glared right now. I'm just trying to make do to get some videos back out there. Anyway, about this knife, this Kizer flipper has a really good stonewash. And if I can get the lighting right, hopefully you're seeing that it has a real nice stonewash. They did a good job. Pretty cool blade design, I like it. You got some jimping on the back here. It's not the most aggressive jimping, but it works. You have a titanium handle, both sides. And as you can see, it's contoured, which I think is pretty awesome. Usually it's just these flat slabs, and I don't think that's as appealing to me. And it's still pretty thin and streamlined. Flow-through design, pillar construction there. You have the 3 pillars. There's no tube for the lanyard hole, which I actually prefer. You have a weird, funky pivot pin. That's okay. I mean, I like the whole custom look. Problem is you gotta get some ridiculously wide flathead to tweak that. And it did come sorry about bumping the camera there. It did come perfectly centered. It's a little off to the right now. I don't know if you can really see that. It's just a little to the right now. Let's see if I can really center that up. You could, yeah, there you go. You can just barely see it's off to the right. So it shifted a little bit from me playing with it. And that's what I mean by the pivot pin. You can't really tighten it up very well. 3-inch blade, 3 ounces. Pretty awesome. I like the size to weight ratio. That's a win for me. It does have the over travel stop. You have the little choil jimping here. Jimping on the bottom for if you have that reverse grip. It's a small knife. It's a good EDC size knife. You know, it doesn't really fill the hand all that well, but it's close. And I have medium-sized hands, so if you have large hands, it's probably gonna be like that. You know, it's really gonna be a smaller knife. Again, good blade design. It did come with imperfections on the edge itself. It almost looked like part of the edge was rolled a little bit, or maybe there was I'm not gonna say a chip. It just seemed like a real dull spot. So I put a really good edge on it, and the thing's stupid sharp now. You can use the thumb stud deployment method. And check this out. Let's see if I can get this to focus. S35VN steel. So that's really the point I'm getting to. The knife offers a big bang for the buck. S35VN steel, in my opinion, is a very slight step up from S30V steel, which most people probably know by now. If you don't, it's a premium steel standard, in my opinion. You see it all over the place now. It rose to fame because it's a really good balanced steel, and a lot of good quality blades have it. There's a lot better as well, but it's a great steel. S35VN takes it just a step up a little bit. Depending on who the steel's coming from, who's manufacturing it, you know, how they do the heat treatment, it's all variables you have to take into consideration. From my cut tests, which are pretty extensive with almost every single blade I own, this knife included, you know, I went all the way from paper to wood. You know, I didn't actually cut carpet with this one, but the edge definitely held. It met my expectations as far as S30V, and then maybe a little bit more. I honestly can't really tell unless I do really specific cut tests, and I'm comparing S30 to S30VN side by side. I really can't notice much of a difference. They both are very, very similar. So this reminded me of S30V. It was a good steel. It held an edge. I really like the look of it. This is kind of a unique pattern here. It's just something I didn't see before, I haven't had before, so I just got this crazy skull design. I just see too many plain titanium handles out there, and I just didn't want to do that. But Kaiser, if you start looking at their other models, they have some really crazy stuff out there. And I promised myself I was going to write down the name of the custom knife maker that Kaiser totally ripped off based on design. But I don't remember. I want to say it was like Tim Brighton or something like that. I'm probably totally wrong about that, but I just looked at it today and stumbled upon it. I was on Blade HQ. Was it Blade HQ? Yeah, it was Blade HQ. And I saw this guy's knives, and I'm like, holy shit, that's a Kaiser. I mean, they're almost identical. It's crazy. Who cares? Whatever. It is what it is. That stuff, I mean, I care. I would care if I was a knife maker, but that stuff happens all over the place. So anyway, if you stumble upon those are, I believe, custom or semi-custom knives that are a whole new level of quality and uniqueness. But if you want something that's affordable, Kaiser is really kind of setting a standard. And when you get S35VN with this much blade steel, I mean, this is a pretty decent blade stock. It's not crazy thick or anything, but it's not a thin blade, and it's a wide blade. And you have titanium, which is contoured with anodization on it, as you can see. You know, it's really kind of impressive that you can get it at this price point. Again, I think I paid $110, and if you can still find these, I'm sure they're somewhere around the same ballpark in price. For these materials, it's going to be probably really hard to find anything at that price point. And if you do, you're probably going to be lacking in something else. There's always exceptions to that, but this is really impressive for what you're getting. Some things I don't like, and this is, you know, some of this is, again, subjective. Some people love certain things that I'm going to point out that I hate. So, you know, take it as it is. It's just my thoughts. I do not like tip-down carry, and that's the only option it gives you. So I just, especially with a flipper, I don't like tip-down carry because I get all this extra crap up here at the top. I'd rather have all that extra crap down in my pocket, not at the top. And so now I'm forced to have that. It's just not, and it's not the narrowest of designs either, so it just is not a comfortable carry. And you also have a decent amount sticking out. Not comfortable in the pocket for me at all. And I don't wear skinny jeans. It's just it's just not comfortable. Also, the clip design is absolutely fucking terrible. Look at that shit. That's terrible. Look, I mean, are you trying to stab someone with this? They got to drop that down. They got to round it off. It's like the Spyderco Southern. It just bugs the shit out of me. And guess what? That's why I just don't carry it very much. I'll probably sell it, maybe? I don't know. I mean, it's a cool knife. I love it. I've had it, like I said, for a while. And I really think it offers a huge value. I just... If something just like that is the way it carries, if it's not going to be in my pocket, then why own it? You know, I don't really want to carry it. So I don't know. I am going to have a hard time getting rid of it just because I think it's so cool and unique in so many ways. But and the value, again, it's just awesome. So the other thing I don't like, and I just don't buy knives like this anymore, very rarely anyway, is the titanium to steel lockup without a lock bar insert. It just wears poorly. The lockup on this, as you can see, hopefully, is good. It's very good. Kind of, I would say, yeah, it's 50%. It's never had lock rock. It's never stuck. Other things I don't like, so pivot pin, not a big deal, but I don't like that. Clip is a fucking borderline deal breaker for me. Titanium to steel, non-ideal. The thumb studs are ridiculously long. They're huge. I'm just way too long. They actually get caught when I'm trying to put it in my pocket. It's just the worst thing to put in my pocket. I just hate carrying it, unfortunately. And it's such a unique, cool knife, I think, in my opinion. And people have really been like, "Wow, that's neat," you know, when I pull it out. That's pretty cool. I like that. I just don't pull it out very much because I don't like carrying it. But they work. The thumb studs work. So, hey, you know, you can also deploy the blade with that if you want. The action sucks. Good luck flipping it with a lever or a light switch movement, which I find most flippers, you can't get away with doing that anyway. It's unfortunate. If they don't have a good detent and if the physics of it all aren't worked out right, it's just not going to flip. You're going to have to do a button press. And this one, it's really, really tough to try to light switch it and get it to deploy all the way. So it's making a liar out of me. You know, I pulled this out. I get a lot of that. Actually, usually it comes out to about here, and it doesn't click all the way. But I've been flipping the hell out of it since I pulled it out of the knife case. Maybe it loosened it up a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Huh. That's funny. Well, sometimes it does. See that? What just happened there? It didn't lock up. Watch. Now it's locked. That's usually what happens to me with this knife when I light switch it. There we go. That's closer. Every once in a while I get it just right. Let me try it. I held it like this. See, if I hold it all ridiculous like, it works. But if I hold it like like I always open my knives, it's harder usually. There we go. If I really get in there. Anyway, point is, if you button press this thing, it goes flying out. That's usually the case with any knife. If you compare light switching it to button press, most flippers are going to be faster if you button press it. I just noticed that I just don't like the action. It's not really that smooth, and it's hard to really get a consistent deployment out of it unless you button press it. It's actually doing a lot better than it has been. So like I said, that's just go figure. Maybe it was just me having to break it in again. As you can see, it's still failing, if I really get on top of it like this, like this, well, as you can see, it's just inconsistent. Maybe it's just me. I've never really gotten it to work the way I want it to. So I just button press it every time, and I never have a problem. So action's mediocre at best, but the materials you're getting are sweet. The fit and finish is pretty damn good. You know, the edge little nick there or whatever I had in it, I can fix that, so I don't really care. The steel seems like they did a decent heat treat on it, so that's pretty cool. I like the design. It feels pretty good in hand too, even though it's small. It feels good in hand. Let's see. Yeah, they're all Torx. The screws, they're all Torx except for the pivot pin. So easy disassembly as long as you can find something wide enough for that. That shouldn't be an issue for the pivot pin, I mean. And what you see is what you get. It's a pretty solid option if you want to pick it up. I don't think if any of those things that I mentioned that I'm not really thrilled with, if those aren't deal breakers for you, then grab one. I think you'll like it. Comparative or competitive options based on similarities or better pricing. So it's hard to do that sometimes for me because I start to overthink it and I start to say, well, what do I have that's a flipper that has a titanium handle on both sides? Most of the flippers I have that have titanium, it's on one side and then I'll have something like a G10 on the other, or it'll be like the Domino or Southern where it's titanium on both sides but then you have G10 on top, or like the zero tolerances, you know. There's a lot out there like that. But the first one that came to mind was the Spyderco Sage 2. It's all titanium, just like the Kaiser is. The angle of the camera is probably making them look like they're the same size and length. They are not. The Sage 2 is a little bit longer, but not by much. However, the Kaiser does give you a lot better, or a lot more cutting edge. The Sage 2, if I recall, is, man, I could be totally wrong about this. I should have looked it up, but it's definitely more expensive than the Kaiser. Definitely. I almost would guess like 180 bucks. Maybe it's not quite that expensive. Maybe 150. But you're getting, it's Spyderco steel versus Kaiser, so my money's on Spyderco. Their steel and their heat treats are almost always some of the best for production knives that I've seen. They're awesome. So I would probably bet you that this S30V is going to kick the shit out of that S30VN. But they're still very comparable steels, so I think this is a good comparison. Even though they're not two flippers I'm comparing, you have similar materials. And the Spyderco Sage 2 is more expensive. So that's my point. The Kaiser, you're getting similar materials and it's less expensive. So very similar though, they're both flow-through design. Much better carry option, the Sage 2. They're both thin, so that's nice. They're comfortable in pocket in that regard, but you have a deep carry here. Not completely deep, it's not buried all the way in your pocket, but it's deeper. And it's tip off the way I like it. You can switch to either side. You cannot with the Kaiser. The action is very smooth. The lockup is about 35-40% on the Sage 2, if that matters to you. There is not an over travel, so you know, score one for the Kaiser on that one. The deployment and the action is just so much smoother. And if you're going to really use this blade, if you're going to use either of these, it's more comfortable to have the Sage 2. I'm not a huge choil fan, but if I ever had to choose one knife to put a choil on, it's the Sage line. They're so comfortable in hand. They're awesome. So the blade design I like better on the Kaiser. Not for slicing. The flat grind is going to be better. This is going to give you a stronger tip on the Kaiser, and I just like the looks of it a little bit better. And I think, you know what, those are probably similar size blade stock too. Very, very close. But putting in and taking out, the Sage is better in pocket. Sage is better in hand. Like I said, the steel's probably going to perform just as good, if not better, than the Kaiser. But again, the Kaiser is going to probably be substantially less expensive. Any of the Sages are really, I think, comparable. You know, so the Kaiser is just a steal, because most of these, I think the only thing that's probably comparable in price, and again, sorry if I'm wrong about this, I really should have looked at the pricing on all of the knives I'm going to compare to the Kaiser, but all I can tell you is that I think these are all more expensive. The Sage 1 may be similar in price to the Kaiser, but they're similar in price. It's a Spyderco though, and the tolerances and fit and finish on those Sages are noticeably better than the Kaiser. Okay, they are Taiwan produced Spydercos, which are pretty awesome. Something more on the same platform, I guess you could say, because it's a flipper and it's almost the same exact size, is the Brouse Bionic. Obviously totally different design, but both flippers and both very similar in size. You're getting a D2 steel from this Brouse, and a lot more aggressive styling, more futuristic, I guess you could say. Pretty cool blade design, hollow ground. They're both hollow ground, so they're both going to probably do similar. They're going to have probably similar slicing abilities. The Brouse blade action is light years better than the Kaiser. Pretty much every knife I think I'm going to compare is going to have a better action than the Kaiser. The Kaiser actually feels better in hand than the Brouse blades does. Both are small, flow-through design again. The Brouse is, I think, either the same weight or a little bit lighter liner lock as opposed to frame lock. And it does have some good jimping. But the way the aluminum was designed is very aggressive and creates some real hot spots. Not so much with the Kaiser. So I think you'll feel that it's just going to be, if you're going to actually get some good cutting in on it, it's probably going to be better. And the Brouse is going to be more expensive than the Kaiser. Probably not by much though. They're very comparative depending on which model you get. I think this one is probably going to be like 10-20 bucks more than the Kaiser. And you know, you are getting titanium handles compared to the aluminum. So if that's a plus for you, then there's a win. Depends. And the blade steel, I really don't know. I kind of want to give a thumbs up or a win to the Brouse on the blade steel. Not that I would choose D2 over S35VN in most cases, but I just have more confidence in Jason Brouse's heat treatment. And the blade just looks beautiful. He did like this machine satin rub that looks really good. And then just the aesthetics of this knife, I think, and again, this is subjective, I think trump all the like custom-esque touches kind of trump the Kaiser, in my opinion. So, here's something that you might not have thought I'd compare to it. I always mix these up. I don't know if this is the ambitious, the persistent, the tenacious, the resilient. I think the resilient's the biggest one. I think it's the persistent. I don't know. Anyway, it's one of the Spyderco budget knives, but they're built like freaking tanks and they're cheap. And it's probably gonna be a better used blade than the Kaiser will. So a little over 100 bucks for the Kaiser, and for the Spyderco you're looking at 50, 40. Yeah, 40. maybe 50 or 60 if you put on an aftermarket deep carry titanium pocket clip like I did. You do have a lot more functionality with this though, because you can quad carry it, you can put it wherever you want. It's going to work for tip up, tip down, right, left carry, however you want it. It's built like a tank. You have real thick liners in here. They even drilled them out to lighten up the weight a little bit. Full flat grind, so it's going to be a better slicer than the Kaiser will be. You have the jimping. Fit and finish is pretty good. Is it this? You know, I think the steel's like an 8CR13 MOV or something like that. A mediocre, decent steel. Definitely, it's not going to touch the S35VN. But then again, that's my point. You know, you're really getting good materials in the Kaiser for not a whole lot. You double the cost and you get really amazing materials over the Spyderco. Over that Spyderco anyway. This may make you laugh, but the Cryo. Definitely similar design-wise. Okay, smaller, heavier, much heavier. I mean, the Cryos are like the heaviest freaking things out there. It's pretty ridiculous. But they're both frame locks. This one is assisted. It also has the over travel stop disc right there underneath the pocket clip. You know, I think they're both, what would you call that, a drop point. Both have swedges, both have jimping, flat slab, contoured, so that's nice. Flow through design. Good lockup on the Cryo too, as well. Steel on steel, there's an advantage. The pocket clip is deep carry, tip up. Again, you know, my opinion on that, that's a win. And you can quad carry it, so you have that flexibility. What's this? 8CR? Yeah, 8CR13 MOV blade steel. Hinderer design. So again, you know, in comparison, a far inferior steel, but at a very, very inexpensive cost. What is this, $30 for this thing? For the Cryo? So, you know, in a way you kind of get what you pay for. I think if you were going to go and look for what the Kaiser would normally cost in a US produced knife with these same materials, you're going to be looking at around $200, if not more. Definitely, if not more. At minimal $200. You may find an exception here or there, but you find American-made knives with these same materials as a Kaiser, and you can find them for $500, $600, $700, $800, depending on who's making them. No exaggeration. Same size and everything. Okay, so I'm really just trying to beat the price point or find something that's similar to the Kaiser. There's some stuff out there that is pretty expensive, pretty ridiculous. But you can see they're similar platform there, I'd say. Another Kershaw. You can get another flipper that's a similar size to the Kaiser. You have deep carry, tip up only. Actually, yeah, tip up only. You can flip this pocket clip to either side. I'll do a separate review on this knife. It's pretty sweet, in my opinion. I guess you could call it a bolster lock. You could call it a liner lock. I think technically it's a frame lock. I mean, you just have a frame with these scales on top. They're contoured as well. Steel on steel, much like the Cryo. You know, an inexpensive, nice steel. I think it's also like 8CR13 MOV. And what is it, like $40 or something? Again, it just doesn't compare. But at the price point, kind of does. This is funny. Kershaw Chill. Did a little. I did a flat line design, heartbeat design with acid etching on that. Polished it up. Threw some jimping on there. Super lightweight. I need a different clip on it because that has a ton sticking out of the pocket. But this thing is super lightweight. And if you do the button press again, it flies out. You light switch it, and it's kind of like this Kaiser here. But this thing's like 20 bucks. Again, 8CR13 MOV. It's crap steel. So realistically, I know it's not a flipper. This is probably the closest comparison. All titanium. Both, I believe, have 3-inch blades, even though the Kaiser's going to give you a lot more cutting than the Spyderco because of the choil there. But they're flow through. They're all titanium. They're both great steels. But the Kaiser is really, it actually technically has a better quality steel, and it's still giving you titanium, and they're contoured, which is pretty awesome. And if you like the flipper and you prefer the flipper, you get that. This Sage doesn't give you that. So it's a very good competitive option. Hope I didn't go overboard with the comparisons. I feel like I did. So maybe I'll get more organized with that next time. But there you have it for the Kaiser. I hope you enjoyed the review. I'd appreciate your feedback if you have any. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching. Have a good night.